Pa Bože, je li ovo istina? A ipak je istina. Stalno se pitam, tumarajući ovako, dođem u Srebrenicu, kao došla sam kući. Međutim, nije to kuća. Nije to više ono.
European Union resolution, which was passed in 2009, asking every member state to commemorate Srebrenica Memorial Day on 11th of July. In the UK, we established a charity just to do that.
For me, on a very personal level, the 11th of July is about those scenes that we saw on our television screens, about people losing their lives, their livelihoods and their families, and personally the guilt of switching off the television and now, 20 years on, wondering whether we could have done more.
On the 11th of July 1995, majority of Srebrenica population, including my family and my friends, were subject to horrible crime which took place, which has been well documented. As you know, women and children were sent to Potocari, which was under UN protection, while majority of men and boys tried to reach Tuzla. They were executed, murdered on this way. Majority of them have been captured, and then after the onslaught which took place for days, they were buried in primary mass graves.
Well, I will certainly be thinking of the very place of Srebrenica and everybody who lost their lives there, and in many other tragedies that mark European history. It is a day to remember those who have died. We have a great tradition in England of memorial days, and this is an important one. And my way of remembering is always to relate these things into the mystery of God. That it is from God we get the dignity by which we should be treated, and it is to God we go, no matter how terrible our ending might be. So I would be commending those who have died into the mercy and the presence of God.
Moj Fezo je ličio na meni po fizionomiji. Okruglo lice, vaše visini, srednje visine, smeđ, sa visokog čela s zalescima, duge obrve, rumeni obrazi. Rumeni obrazi moji. Tihe narafi.
ICMP really works to try to look at missing persons as something that must be treated within the rule of law. It has to be the application of the rule of law rather than to be treated as the inevitable consequence of conflict. And in doing so, what we try to do is return dignity to the victims, to allow them to have their voice again, to be undeleted. And so gathering facts, proving what had happened, identifying people using advanced DNA techniques, advanced archaeological techniques, builds a story of, and allows us to see what actually happened during the conflict. And that is difficult to deny, and that's the most important part of what we do.
So you see, Srebrenica, it was just the logical consequence of the last project in 20th century in Europe, which was genocidal, which was fascistic in its own nature, and which was the project of showing that the world has a dilemma. Are we going to live as human beings, or we are going to be living as an animals that people who made divide people with the white ribbons and then kill them in Srebrenica? Who will prevail?
We developed a large-scale DNA program where we took reference samples, blood samples from over 100,000 people throughout former Yugoslavia who were reporting a missing person. Every time we found a grave, we would take a sample of the bone, take DNA from it and try to match the two. And as a result, we've been able to identify almost 15,000 people from the former Yugoslavia, and in the context of Srebrenica, almost 7,000 people.
These things are important because we need to learn the lessons from the past. And in the job that I do, where really I'm dealing with conflict and crisis every single day of my life, I sometimes feel that we are not learning from these mistakes, that the inhumanity continues, that we are not doing enough as a global community, not only to remember, but to learn and to move forward.
By the initiative, which has been largely conducted by the associations Mothers of Srebrenica, Memorial Center of Srebrenica and Potčari has been established where victims of genocide are being buried. Every single person has a right to a decent burial. These individuals, not only that they have been killed, murdered, they also have been deprived, the survivors have been deprived of some of the basic human rights.
Malo je olakšanje kad se ljudi pronađu, kad se pokopaju, kad imaju svoj mezar. I ovamo u spomen mezarju gdje smo se mi žene izborile da imamo, da bar pokopamo